Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Anaheim Public Utility Board. And first item we have is on public comments. The public was given the opportunity to submit. Oh, I'm sorry, roll call. I apologize. Can we do, see who's in attendance? Thank you.
This is a verbal roll call vote. Vice Chair Seymour,
Here.
Board Member Abdul Rahman,
Here.
Board Member Bala, Board Member Bala, Board Member Guyona.
Here, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Board Member Showalter,
Here.
Board Member Baroldi is absent. Chair Madrano,
Here.
let the record show that we have a quorum.
Thank you. I don't have my reading glasses. That's why I saw I missed that. So, okay, now we'll go on to the public comments, and the public was given the opportunity to submit public comments electronically, and for the record, we have received no public comments. Next item on the agenda are the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. If everyone's had an opportunity to review them, I can entertain a motion to.
I move a motion to approve.
Motion made by member Abdul Rahman. Can I get a second?
I have a question before we second.
Yes, Mr. Vice Chair Seymour.
Yes, Julie Showalter is not shown as absent, nor is she shown as present. And I would suggest that we make sure that the minutes are accurate.
Yes, our mistake
Can
on that.
do we amend those minutes?
Yes.
Can we do so?
Yes. So can we take that action? Can we amend the motion that includes that correction then?
Yeah,
I'll amend the motion to include the corrections.
great. Motion was made, and can I now get a second?
I'll second.
Member Showalter, seconded?
And also let the record show that I actually was absent.
Very
Okay,
well,
we will note that.
thank you.
You don't have to let the record show this, but it was COVID, so
Oh,
I
no.
sick.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay,
can we get a roll call vote?
this is a roll call vote for item number 1. Vice Chair Seymour,
Abstain.
Board Member Abdul Rahman,
Aye.
Board Member Bala, Board Member Guyona,
I,
Two voices there.
Board Member Showalter,
I
Chair Madrano.
Aye.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 nays, 1 abstention, and 1 absent not present. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Is that 1 absent or 2 absent?
I apologize, 2
Two
absent.
absent. Okay, great, thank you. Next item on the agenda is, we have the proposed Public Utility Board meeting schedule for the 2021 calendar year.
So that schedule is in your board packets, and it's listed both as just listing of dates as well as a calendar. And it includes our regular meeting time, which is the 4th Wednesday of the month, with the exception of November and December, which are usually a week ahead because of the holidays. And if there's any questions, we'd be happy to answer those.
Any questions or concerns with the calendar for 2021 for the meetings? Okay, hearing none. We adopted, so this is also an action item. So I will entertain a motion to adopt the calendar for the meetings for the year 2021.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Vice Chair Seymour. Can I get a second?
I second it.
Second by Member Gaona. Can we please get a roll call vote?
Vice Chair, this is a roll call vote for item number 2. Vice Chair Seymour,
Aye.
Board Member Abdul Rahman,
Aye.
Board Member Bala, Board Member Guyona,
Aye.
Board Member Showalter,
Aye.
Chair Madrano.
Aye.
The vote is 5 ayes, no nays, 2 absent, not present. Motion carries.
Thank you. We have our calendar for next year for meetings. Next time, we have a presentation on water system reliability. Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the board. This is our annual presentation to provide you a status of our water reliability for the last fiscal year that ended at the end of June. And so this is taking you for the fiscal year 1920. The purpose of the annual presentation is to there we go. Is to provide you our metrics and strategy going forward in 3 key areas. The first being supply is how often is our supply available, and we look at our 2 lowest cost supply sources primarily. We do that also for our integrated resources. You may remember we provide that metric for our power plants also, so similar metric. We also look at the availability to our customers. How often are our customers disrupted and for how long to restore their service once they are disrupted? And lastly, we're going to look at the efficiency of our system. Is how well do we take care of the resource of water throughout our water system? How efficient are we with it? These are the primary metrics that we look at. And we look at this every year, and we look at these same metrics last year, you may recall, to this year. So looking at how we're measuring ourselves, we measure ourselves to the industry standards. And so we develop these standards based upon our neighboring water agencies, but also nationally, these different water agencies. So these metrics and benchmarkings are provided by the American Water Works utility benchmarking data. That's the first one. We also look at the California water audit results. We look at throughout the state of California on our water efficiencies metric. And then when we look at our public safety and how we're doing with protecting our customers from fires and our fire flow availability, we look at the Center for Public Safety Excellence. So you can notice on all these metrics, we're going to have the same graph right here. And so based upon what the group that we're measuring ourselves, if you're doing poorly, you're going to be in the lower 25th percentile. If you're doing good, you're going to be in the 75th percentile. And so we'll show you what our goal is. Our goal is to be in the 75th percentile in all these metrics. And you'll see a line showing where we're at in each of these metrics as we go through. And now that we've done this for a couple of years, we have a comparison, and we're going to be able to tell what the trend is that we're doing in our water system. So the first one we're going to look at is water supply and our equipment availability. So we have our 2 lowest sources of supply are up here on this graph, one being the Lanane treatment plant. That's our imported water, raw water that we treat. The second being our groundwater. And you notice with the Lanane treatment plant, that's much below our goal. Our goal in this case here is to have it operational 95% of the time and have it out of operation for only 5%. And that 5% is needed for us to clean and maintain the facility, which allows us to take it out of service typically about 3 weeks out of the year. We're able to take it out of service to clean it and put it back in service. This last year we were at 45%, and that's because the first half of the year the plant was down due to the construction that we were doing up there, the upgrades that we were doing out there, and it came back online the second half of the system. So that's why it shows here it was operational for 45% of last fiscal year. It has been in operation continuously since it came in operation in January. We did take it down for service at the end of October, and it was out of service for just under 2 weeks. And so that's the first of its 2 shutdowns that we're going to do this year. And so that used about 2%. So we're looking good to be back in our goal for the treatment plant next year. The wells, as you can see here, are also down, and that's because of the groundwater contamination with PFAS that required us to shut our wells down. So if you recall, we have 15 of our 19 wells down. So improving those metrics this coming year, we think Lanane Water Treatment Plant, as I mentioned, is operational. The upgrades were very effective. We replaced a lot of the aging infrastructure that we had up there, such as our ozone disinfection system, our chemical injection systems, and the plant is operating very well and very efficient and at higher capacity too. Remember, we increased it from 15 million gallons per day to a 20 million gallon per day plant. So we're operating at a higher capacity too. The groundwater treatment, the groundwater wells are going to remain off. That metric will actually fall below what it was this year. We're operating around 20%, 25% of our water supply from our groundwater wells. And that'll continue until we get our groundwater treatment plants designed, constructed, and in operation. And so that is a plan to get the first one back online in 2 years. And we're putting together a solicitation to award those, and those will hopefully be awarded this spring to a design build contractor to bring on our first treatment plants in a couple of years. The next metric we want to look at is availability, is the disruption of service to our customers. So we look at how many times a customer or the number of disruptions they have per 1,000 meters of pipeline in our system. So an unplanned disruption is the interruption to one or more services of a customer. It could be because of a main break. It could be because the service lateral going from the main to the customer's house leaks. It could be for many reasons. This year we dipped below the 75th percentile. You can see here we're at 0.69, which we dropped this year. And a majority of the unplanned outages you'll see later, this other metric, is due to the, not necessarily because of main breaks, but because the service laterals broke. And we saw a number of these happen, a big increase as we looked into this, why are so many services breaking? And we did have a higher number of services, but we also had a concentration of services and damage in one particular area. And you guys drive by this all the time probably, is the construction going on at State College right now, the underground, the large sewer line. Due to that construction, which they're driving very heavy, these piles into the ground, when they drive those piles into the ground to put in that pipeline, it's vibrating and breaking our services and our water mains. We've been out there several times in the last 9 months repairing those services and the pipeline in that area. So that's one reason we've seen a spike, a drop in this particular metric. The other metric that we look at is the disruption duration. So once the service is out, how long does it take to get that customer back in service? And so we stayed about the same as we did for last year. This is right about where we were last year, just a slight improvement. And we saw this happen, and we're looking at different methods, but we realized that not all main breaks are the same. And you can see here in this next video here, this is a video of a main break that was on Imperial Highway near Knoll Ranch Road that we had.
This is John. I've lost the voice.
So
with
Can you
that,
hang on for just 1 second? Can you repeat that, Mr. Seymour?
I said I lost the voice from Michael.
He's not hearing you speak.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
All right.
Okay, all right, let's go to the video.
We were just playing a video, and the video had audio that spoke over me. So what I want to show with that video is that not all main breaks are the same. Some of them are large. This one took up an entire street of several services, where others are very small. But in any regard, with that main break we had on Imperial Highway, and with some of the other main breaks we had, we saw the need to be able to get back out and to do these repairs quickly to prevent them from happening again. So we look at two things that we need to do to try and minimize the impact of those main breaks in the future. One is replacing the valves that are in our system quicker, and we didn't replace as many valves as we wanted to this year. We wanted to replace several hundred valves, and we didn't do that. We replaced around 100 valves this year. And we also want to be able to get back out and replace pipes faster once they are broken. Right here downtown, there's a street called Indiana Street, and there was 3 pipe breaks in a very short period of time there. But it takes us a long time with these valve replacements or with going out and replacing this pipe to plan it, get a design consultant to put together a bid package, solicit that bid package, award, go to city council, award the construction contract, and then get the contract and mobilize. It could take 2 years to do that. So one thing we did recently is we awarded a new contract to 3 design build contractors that will be on a master construction agreement that will allow us to replace valves and get back out to these areas that we want to replace, like that one you saw, the pipe break on Imperial Highway, and like the main breaks we're having here downtown, and get out there much quicker under a design build delivery method through a master construction agreement. The city council has given us that authorization to do that. We still will compete those procurements through council policy, approved council policy 4.1, but it should save time for us to get out there and improve these metrics we're hoping in the coming years. The next main break that is actually good news is our main breaks, the number of main breaks we have. So we measure the number of main breaks we have per 100 miles of pipe, and we compare that to nationally throughout the country. And naturally, because we're here in a drier, more mild climate, we don't see as many main breaks as they would in Minneapolis or cold areas where they get frozen temperatures cause pipes to contract and break more often. So, but we are doing very good. We have increased and improved this metric over the years slowly. And that's largely because of the investments that we've been making and increasing investments we've been making in replacing our aging pipelines throughout our system. But it's not just a matter of replacing pipes that are old or pipes that have been pipes that may be of a certain material, but takes a more strategic approach on how we utilize that capital investment to make sure this metric that our main breaks stays low. The one thing we invested in a couple of years ago was an asset management approach to our main replacement. So what this does is this takes into a lot of factors, a lot more than just the age of the pipe, into whether that pipe should be replaced. We take into account a whole bunch of factors that determine what is the likelihood that that pipe will fail, and also what is the consequence of that pipe fail. If the pipe maybe is in an area that won't have any customer disruptions, maybe a low consequence. And we put those two things together and we rate the pipes, every pipe throughout our system, to try and determine where is the best place for us to spend our limited capital improvement investments in our pipeline. And we believe this strategic investment has been effective and will be effective in the future to help make sure our main breaks per 100 mile stays within our goal. The next metric is public safety. The fire department, it looks every couple of years with the ISO to get a rating. They're currently rated as a Class A system fire rating, and we want to keep that because what that does is that relates into lower fire insurance bills for our customers, for our residences. So we've scored very high for our public safety, for our water system, because we maintain our fire hydrants, we maintain the valves, and we have good fire flow throughout our system.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
How you come up with 37.66? Is that some kind of assessment, factoring, stuff like that, or how you come up with that?
Yeah, it's the water portion of it's called the Community Fire Service Performance Review. So there's a group that comes out to Anaheim on behalf of the insurance association organization, and they rate our system. And they look at several things. They look at how many fire stations we have, their response times to fires. But one of the things they look at is they have a category for water. They look at what is our pressure, how much water can we get out of each fire hydrant, the helicopter, fire protection for wildfires, and they look at how often we maintain our fire hydrants. So we took that category of this overall rating that this organization does, and that's how and that rating was a 37.66, which is based on the Western region average. That puts us up near the very top. And then the last one is efficiency. It's for how efficient is our water system? How efficient are we managing this resource throughout our system? So this metric is one of it takes into several different categories with the benchmarking throughout the nation. And this one actually increased significantly this year. And it increased significantly where we were the 50th percentile up to now well into the 75th percentile. And it primarily increased because we didn't have our water treatment plant online this year. We wonder, well, what did that have to do with efficiency? We use a lot of water backwashing and throwing it and discarding it in our water treatment plant operation. Because we weren't doing that, it artificially raised this number. So I wouldn't get too caught into this is what the number is going to be in the future. This will come down. We know we have work to do with water efficiency as we presented last year. But one of the biggest things we know we need to do is replace our aging water meters that we have out in our system. We know they're coming up with, when we do an AMI program sometime in the next few years, that will take care of that. But we do know that this metric will come down next year. Some of the things we are doing though.
Ask you a question. When we do flushing for water quality purposes, does that also get included as part of this calculation?
Yeah, there's a lot of things. When we flush water from our fire hydrants to clean the water system, when we lose water through a meter that may be inaccurate, to, as I mentioned, the water we use at Lanane at a water treatment plant in our operation, all that goes into this amount, this water loss. Thank you, Duku. So a couple of categories of things that we are doing, in addition to wanting to replace our meters, is our large meters. The large meters where we have, where an inaccuracy has a big effect on losing revenue and losing water. So one thing we're doing is we're investing in a portable meter calibration so we can go out to these large meters, test them ourselves more often to find out which ones are inaccurate. If they're inaccurate, then we repair them or replace them. So that will improve our cash registers that calculate how much water we sell to customers, primarily the large customers.
Is the meter for pressure or for flow rate?
For flow rate. Yeah, we want to know when is the meter that's in the ground that we read every month, when is that reading not accurate? We want to figure that out quickly. So we have these portable calibration devices that we're able to take out there. Another place where we can lose water, where it brings our water, the water loss values down, is leakage in our system. So where we underneath the ground, we have our pipe, it's usually 3 to 5 feet below the ground, and they can leak water through little cracks, through big holes. And because we have sandy soil, it doesn't necessarily always bubble up to the top like you saw in that video of Imperial Highway. It often will saturate and go down. And we will never know where those leaks are unless we dig up the ground and we see it. So how do we know where to dig to find those leaks? There's some new technology out there that we're evaluating that's just coming on the market in the last few years that's looking promising, that we can hook up to fire hydrants and different things and use ultrasonic sensors to hear vibrations and sense and tell us where there's a leak, that, hey, 400 feet over here, there possibly could be a leak. And then we could strategically dig down in those areas where we think the leak is, fix it, and reduce the amount of water that we're losing. And another area that we can also reduce that leakage through our pipes is by better maintaining our pressure. So when there's spikes in pressure, just like in your house or in this building, a spike in pressure, it can cause pipes to leak and break pipes that we never know. So we're using our operators, we provided new protocols for our operations staff. This is one of our water system operators that are located up at our Lanane water treatment plant. To manage our water system and look for those spikes and be proactive in making sure that we don't have pressure surges in our system, and that we have constant pressure so that we minimize the amount of leakage we have in our system. Those are some of the things that we're doing now to try to reduce the amount of water loss and improve that metric. So with that, I'd like to report that we're happy with the results of this year's water reliability. We know we do have some work to still do and lots of areas we can still improve. So we feel that we're on that continual path of improvement and look forward to answering any of your questions.
Any members of the board have any questions? Member Roman?
Yes. do you have the last year results compared with this year? I want to see if there's any improvement or have some kind of.
Yes, I do. So for each of these, I mentioned kind of whether we're improving, staying the same, or getting worse
Right.
compared to last year. Yes. Yes, I can.
So I think one of the things we'll probably do in the future is look at like a trend line, because I think that's what you want to see is over the
Trend, yes,
3, 4, however many years, what's the trend over time?
Trade or.
Yeah, so this is really our second year doing this. So in the third year, then we'll have at least more data. So instead of seeing one chart, you'll see maybe like 3 charts and you can see that trend line. And then going forward, be able to do maybe like a 5-year look back or something.
Or extrapolate the line.
Yeah.
Just straighten line.
Right, that's a good point. But I think that would help identify, we went down because of Linane or we're back up because we finished the, so those are good points to make. Thank you.
Any other questions from members of the board? Hearing none, thank you. Next item on the agenda, we have, we're setting a public hearing. Time.
Yes, thank you. And so I'm going to have Brian Gilner kind of walk through the staff reports that's in your packets. Brian?
Sure. Thank you, Dooku. Members of, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. As you are well aware, the city charter has given the authority to hold public hearings to the Public Utilities Board. And in that aim, part of those hearings tend to be rate actions, which we are asking for the scheduling of a hearing for January 27th of 2021 to discuss a change to our water rates. As you know, we have been impacted by the groundwater issue with PFAS, and as such, our mixture of water has changed, meaning the costs are going up. In the staff report, you can see part of this rate action is for those water costs, about 2/3, and about 1/3 would go to the cost of replacing infrastructure and building new infrastructure for the water utility. In addition to these actions, we'll also be asking for some changes to our rules to allow us to give additional credits to customers during times of emergency or other issues. And we also will be asking for a credit for customers that sign up for online bill pay. As you probably can imagine, the mailing service is becoming less and less dependable. We're getting more and more bills being sent back to us, which is driving labor costs up a little bit. And it's just more efficient for us to deliver bills to customers online. So trying to give an incentive to customers to sign up for online bill payment. Part of the timeline would be, if this action is approved, that we would mail notices for the hearing out to customers on December the 8th. I think Peggy emailed you a copy of the proposed draft notice today, so you can look at what we propose to send to our customers. And we would give you at the December board meeting a full-throated presentation of the rate action, the causes of the rate action, kind of a financial overview of what's going on in the water agency to justify and to discuss these costs and these cost increases, with the hearing to be held on January the 27th. With that, I'm open for any questions, but I think considering all that's going on, this is a prudent measure. We are doing everything we can to keep our costs low. We're doing everything we can to keep our rates as affordable to our customers until we get the groundwater treatment fix in place. So I'm more than happy to answer any questions. But like I said, we'll give you a full-throated review of this rate action and a presentation in December. But if you have questions from constituents when these notices come, again, about 2/3 is for water supply and about 1/3 for infrastructure.
So I just
Yeah, this is John. I have one question, and it can wait till the December meeting, but I was curious about and concerned about how much reserves we're using to compensate for the increased costs, and what happens to our reserves after we do that.
Sure. Our reserves will mainly be used for capital, not for these costs, I think our reserves are going to continue to be in good shape, and our reserves are supplemented by the line of credit if it's approved by City Council next week. So our reserve situation isn't as big of a concern of mine as another metric that we use, which is our debt service coverage. Our debt service coverage is essentially how much money we collect as a ratio of our debt payment. So if our debt payment is $1 million and we collect $1.7 million above and beyond our costs, your coverage is 1.7. We try to keep our coverage at 2.0, which would portend for a AAA rating that we currently enjoy from Fitch and AA+ from Standard & Poor's. But we do forecast, and we'll talk about this next month, we do forecast that debt service coverage is going to drop from below 2 to maybe 1.7 over the next few years while we work through this problem, instead of raising rates on our customers. This very well may, I won't say will, but very well may mean a rating drop from the various rating agencies. Now, at first glance, that may seem to be a cause of concern, but right now in our forecast, we don't foresee the issuance of any new debt till the latter part of this decade, maybe 2027 or so for the water utility. So we can withstand a drop in our rating for a short period of time while we work through this, because we won't be issuing any new debt. And all our current debt is fixed rate as it is. So there is no change in our debt service payments or our interest costs because of a drop in the rating. But I think, to answer your question, Mr. Seymour, we're not concerned about reserves. We're more concerned about the metrics that investors and rating agencies use.
Thank you. Good answer.
And I just wanted to comment that, there's never a good time to raise rates. And obviously in the middle of the pandemic, we realize our customers are struggling. So this is not, something that we want to do. It's something we have to do to remain fiscally sound and viable as an organization. And so, as Brian mentioned, we're doing everything we can to cut back on our costs. We have pushed back non-critical projects. We have some savings with labor because we're going to have a series of retirements here coming up. And so we're doing other things we can to save our customers money and not asking for everything we potentially could. And then, of course, that's going to affect our reserves and some other metrics. So we're looking at a lot of the combination of these things to make sure that we're limiting the impact on our customers. And at the same time, we have assistance programs, emergency assistance programs to help customers with their bills as they struggle through this time as much as we do. So we're very sensitive to the impacts to all of our residents and businesses who are struggling through this, but everybody is in the same boat. Everybody's struggling right now. And we feel like we still need to do some type of action to recover some of our costs.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's about roughly a 5% increase when you take a look at it. I think the main key is to determine how we're going to sell the logic of what we're doing and the necessity of what we're doing. But we can talk about that in December.
And I just want to piggyback also on what Dooku said. One of the proposals that we have, and we've actually implemented some of these proposals, but is additional bill credits for customers. And I don't know if you've noticed on your bill, but we currently have a COVID relief credit on our electric portion of the bill equal to the customer charge, which is about $5. Because we do understand that customers are using more power now as they're sheltering at home or kids are still at home for school, et cetera. And we're really seeing an uptick in our residential usage. So that credit right now at $5 wipes out more than this increase. And so when you look at a bill comparison year over year, you're actually going to see a bill drop independent of this increase.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good way to promote what we're doing. And I'm embarrassed that I did not notice that on my bill.
Yes, Mr.
Thank you.
Chairman.
Yes,
Is it possible we could shift it to the end of next year, like 2021, by February or December of 2021?
Yeah, we talked about that. So, obviously we could do things like reduce the amount or delay it for some period of time. The thing is, you don't want to do it to the summer months when everybody's usage tends to go up, right, because of the hot weather. If you push it off an entire year, then that's you're about a year's worth of collections that we're not going to do, which means you got to recover that somewhere else. So we're talking roughly about $5 million or so. So if we don't
Correct.
collect that $5 million over next year, where do we get that $5 million from? And then it starts compounding after that.
Is the $5 million, is this for the entire year or month by
The
month?
entire year,
I think that's
right? So it's not a huge overall, comparative to our budget, it's not a huge amount. But once you delay those things, then it has that compounding effect going forward. And so believe me, we did talk through delays, reductions, et cetera. But the sooner we can do some type of collection, the easier it'll be for the impact because of all the groundwater. See, we're still paying for the high imported water costs. That's happening today. There's no deal that we're getting on those costs. So we're having to figure out if we don't collect some of those dollars, then either we reduce our reserves even more significantly, or we have other financial impacts.
And we can show you also, Mr. Abdurrahman, the impacts of that delay. The bigger concern is our bond agreements mandate that our coverage cannot be below 1.25 for the water agency. And right now we forecast it's going to be 1.7, which is getting perilously close to that 1.25. If we fall below 1.25, we are considered in default of the bonds. So we have to be very careful that that we have enough revenue to get to the 1.25 level. And we can show you what happens if we delay a year, as you suggest, which could have adverse consequences to the agency.
Any other questions from members of the board?
Thank you.
Hearing none, I'll enter. There's no other questions or comments of Mr. Buellner. I'll entertain a motion to set January 27th, 5 o'clock for the time and date of the hearing or thereafter.
There should have been asterisk next to this item. So this is a motion to, oh no, actually, this is not going to city council. We just need the.
Just to set the
motion.
hearing and
Yes.
get it
Yes. Sorry, my fault.
as an action, so. Is that right?
Yes.
So I'll entertain such a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Vice Chair Seymour, and a second. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Member Gaona, seconded by Member Gaona. Thank you. Roll call, please. Roll call vote.
This is a roll call vote for item number 4. Vice Chair Seymour,
Aye.
Board Member Abdulrahman,
Aye.
Board Member Bala, Board Member Guyona,
Aye.
Board Member Showalter,
Aye.
Chair Madrano.
Aye.
The vote is 5 ayes, 0 nays, 2 absent, not present. Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is an update on electric system issues. Who will be, is
Janet Cloninger will
Yes.
be that update.
Donica?
All right, good evening, board members.
Yes.
I just have one quick update for electric services. Anaheim was asked to present today at the State Wildfire Safety Advisory Board workshop on specific elements of our wildfire mitigation plan that the board wished to emphasize to give guidance for future plans. The Anaheim was one of 7 utilities requested to present of the 50 public-owned utilities in the state. We were requested to present on our methods used to inventory our electric assets and critical facilities within the fire threat zones, and our process for restoring power after an incident, and lastly, how we identify risks. So this Wildfire Safety Advisory Board is trying to develop the elements for future plans that, in their opinion, represents a comprehensive plan. It was a very good workshop. It lasted 4 hours, and we were very happy that we had the opportunity, Anaheim, to be selected to present at this workshop and given the opportunity to talk about our wildfire plan. So it was a great experience, and I just wanted to share that with the board. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing no questions, our next item on the agenda is water system issues. Is Mr. Moore still with us?
Yes, Michael should be on there. Can you hear him? Is he?
Michael?
He should be, I think.
I can hear him speaking from over there. Give us
Need some
one
audio.
second.
Here.
Give us 1 second for him to get situated.
We
Can you hear me
can't
now?
you, but
There we go.
yes.
Okay. I should have just walked back over there. The first update I want to give, as I mentioned earlier, is the water supply dashboard that you see here is not much change. The main thing here is if you look at that middle chart at the bottom regarding precipitation, Orange County is currently at 0.4 inches. Northern California is very dry. The Colorado River Basin is still very, very dry compared to our average. So we're seeing dry conditions all throughout these places we get water here locally, Northern California, and in the Colorado River Basin, which is not good as we go into this year. I mentioned our storage levels, over the summer remain pretty healthy, but having all those water sources be dry is definitely going to put a drain on them. And you can see the 1 month look ahead in the bottom right does not show favorable for a lot more precipitation in our areas we get water from. So we're going to keep an eye on that. That's concerning as we kind of go into the winter here. It's still early in the water year though. Other updates I wanted to provide on our water system, as I mentioned, is we had our Lenane water treatment plant down offline for almost 2 weeks to do our biannual cleaning. We didn't find any problems. All the new equipment we installed is performing well. We just had a lot of normal cleaning that we had to do, and it's back in operation and functioning at full capacity. As Brian was talking about the need and the desire to set the rate hearing because of PFAS. And as you may recall, Craig Parker presented back in September on our PFAS groundwater treatment plant program, and that is largely to be able to bring our lowest cost water source, the groundwater wells, back online. It's cost us about $15 million a year more in water supply to buy imported water because we have so many wells offline. So the sooner we can get those wells back online, the less cost to our customers and less impact to their rates. The desire is to build this program as quick as we can, and so we've gone ahead with the delivery method using design build to bring this to try and bring 50% of our well capacity back online within 2 years. We've solicited a request for qualifications from design build contractors. We received 9 of those. In October, we shortlisted it down to 3 of the highest qualified, and we've sent out the request for proposals from those 3 design build teams out last week, and they are now working on their proposals that we anticipate to award in spring, and we'd bring that back to the Public Utility Board for recommendation and then go to City Council. So we're going as fast as a pace as we can to bring those treatment plants back online, not only expediting the procurement, but also expediting the delivery method by using the design build method. In the meantime, we do rely on our treated water turnouts, our imported water turnouts from Metropolitan Water District. Those are usually our backup source of supply. We have 7 of them throughout the city that provide water, and right now they're our primary source of supply to the city. So it's very important that these pieces of equipment and facilities that are there for backup and never used are now very important. So we just completed a very thorough maintenance program of them. Our water production staff has gone through each of them, checked all the mechanical parts, replaced everything to ensure that those 7 turnouts that we have throughout the system not only maintain but also are reliable, because they are our key source of supply right now throughout the city. And those are all the updates I have, and can answer any questions if anybody has them.
I just have one comment I wanted to make on Michael's update. So we were planning on doing a dedication event for Lanane, given that, it's a very major upgrade that we had completed. We were shooting for the fall originally, but obviously with everything going on right now, it's not conducive to have a gathering. So we're looking to postpone it till probably the springtime of next year, because we still think it's important to have that dedication. And so obviously everybody will be invited, assuming that we can still do it. And if not, we might look to do a more virtual type of event, but still it's a big project and we wanted to commemorate it, but that's the reason why we didn't have a dedication event this year. So our apologies for that. If anybody's interested in a tour, I know Mr. Seymour went on a tour not too long ago. If anybody wants to actually see it, we can arrange it. You can just contact Peggy.
I highly recommend it. It's very, very, it will really help people's understanding of what it takes to provide water to our city.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Any questions? Hearing none, next item will be an update on finance issues. Mr. Billner, we're going to join us again.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I want to apologize. The dashboard was not in your packet. We closed the month on Monday, so we didn't have enough time to get it into your packet. So I've asked Peggy to put it up on the screen so we can go over our October results. As a final tip of the hat to Graham, our revenue is still outperforming our expectations, surprisingly. It's buoyed continually by our wholesale sales. And in October, if you scroll down a little bit, Peggy, you can see our October revenue is about $2.5 million, or $3.5 million higher than budget. A lot of that's from residential revenue, and I alluded to this in my rate hearing item. We're still seeing strong demand from our residential customers, which then prompted us for that rebate to those customers because of the collections of residential revenue. So we don't foresee the wholesale revenue to continue at this pace, since temperatures have abated and will continue to abate. So we do still foresee that revenue softening will occur through the balance of the year. But so far, we are beating expectations, which is a good sign. And as you can see down below, our expenditures are below budget. We do have a number of vacancies that we are holding open, and we don't foresee filling a number of those vacancies for some time. And some of our other costs have come in under budget as well, as we continue to tighten our belt. So I think from a budgetary standpoint, the organization is doing a good job. If you scroll down a little bit further, Peggy, to go over water, our water revenue is soft, and that's a lot of it is due to the shelter at home. With hotels empty, et cetera, we are seeing some softening in the commercial industrial sector, which is reflected here. There is no wholesale market on water that we can take advantage of, obviously, but there's a corresponding drop in our budget as well. So where it's about a wash on the water budget. Now we just hope this continues through the balance of the year. There's no guarantee of that, but that is our hope. With that, that's my only item tonight. Next month, it's going to be the same. I'll present the dashboard this way as well, because it's an early board meeting next month. So we'll just have closed the month right before the board meeting. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from members of the board? Hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Billner. Now, next item on the agenda is the update on power supply issues. Mr. Lee.
Okay, so we're going to have Sean Smith, our integrated resource manager, give you an update this month.
Hello, everybody. Just if Peggy could put it up there for us. 1 second.
It's not up there, Sean. It's in their packets.
Okay, great. So if we go to the top of the first page there, you'll see total generation is above normal. I wanted to reiterate that Graham talked about it last month, but we did have Canyon Unit 4 come back from outage in October. Another smaller unit that is not listed here because it's not conventional generation is Bowerman, and it did have an outage due to the Silverado fires it is still on outage, and we'll know more at next month's PUB. But a lot of items burned at the actual landfill, and so that's why it's offline. Overall generation of renewables is slightly down 8%. Conventional generation is up. As Brian spoke about, we had some heat, and we also had the Silverado fire that had people closing their windows, running their AC because of the bad air quality. So as you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see our budgeted wholesale sales number, and then our actual sales are well above that, and that's due to those factors. And you'll see that over FY20, prices actually did increase too. They even peaked at $500 during the month of October on Friday the 16th. If you go back to the second page, our renewables accounted for about 26% of our of our overall energy, compared to 24% last month. And then as you go down to the bottom, overall, even though there were spikes in prices at the CAISO, the overall market was still not too high compared to the rest of our portfolio. So we had increased procurement within our CAISO market. And that's the only update this month from power supply, unless anyone has any questions.
This is John. I have one question. Did we lose any of our central generating equipment due to that fire in the Irvine?
Central generating equipment at Bowerman, or?
Yeah, at Bowerman. We have a significant plant there.
Yeah, so Bowerman had a lot of, so they have like PVC pipe that runs through the landfill, and that got burned up, but they're replacing that. And they've got some like power poles and AT&T lines that they use for communication with us in the CAISO. Those are the types of things that burn, but they're almost back online in terms of the unit being able to run. It just needs telemetry, which is AT&T's domain.
Good luck to us with AT&T. Thank you.
Thank you, Extra Simon.
That was a perfect setup.
Any other questions, members of the board? Hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
You're welcome. Thank you, board.
Next item on the agenda, we have a update on enterprise risk and compliance. Ms. Lehman.
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening. In your package is the 2020 legislative wrap-up report that covers the final year of this 2019-2020 legislative session. Along with the report in your binder, you'll also see a summary of kind of all of the bills that have passed in 2020, the significant bills that we have been following. It's a pretty thin stack this year. Along with that are the cost matrices that give you kind of an overview of what in the past kind of have led up to some of our rate increases. What are these laws that impact our rate? I've never seen anything like this year. I think we can all agree that 2020 was extraordinary, unusual. The pandemic, though, had some significant impacts on the legislature. They took 2 breaks. They were then faced with having to address different types of COVID legislation. And all in all, what that resulted for us was a significant reduction in bills that were passed. So, amidst it all, again, there were the statewide wildfires, the surprising statewide outage, electric outage that's going to play into next year. And I'll talk about that a little bit. But really, overall, we had a successful year because of this. Key bills that were passed were beneficial to Anaheim. And we've talked about several of those, such as the transparent process that was passed for setting the limits on unregulated contaminants, so we don't get blindsided again by something like PFOA, as well as troubling bills didn't pass. There were 2 major bills on the very large pump storage projects that would have cost billions of dollars, that would have resulted in millions of dollars to cost to Anaheim's customers. So really, the dynamics of this legislative session helped us overall. Next year, we expect it to be interesting as well. Again, the surprising statewide electric outage, wildfires aren't going away. So on the water side, what we expect to see is there's going to be a more formalized, transparent process again, but to put in real water quality standards for PFAS. So we'll be watching that closely, making sure it's scientifically based. And again, we don't expect it to be much different than what we have for the response levels. We think we're well prepared. But again, it is a process we will be watching closely as they try to set those standards. On the electric side, we expect to be, again, a multitude of legislation. That having to do with the outage will be resource planning, trying to tell us what types of resources we need, what types of resource adequacy requirements. That then it goes into that the types of pump storage bills that are so expensive. As well, the governor introduced several different executive orders on accelerating greenhouse gas reductions, including the zero emission EVs by 2035. We expect all of that to be addressed in legislation. So I think next year is going to be a very hectic legislative year. In addition, we think there's going to be a number of bills that deal with both water and electric. Really looking at the economic recovery efforts. Hopefully there could be some good bills out of that offer some infrastructure assistance. We'll have to see. And probably more consumer protection bills, likely surrounding disconnections. So we'll be watching those closely as well. These issues, as you all know, are very complex. They move very quickly. So with that, I'd really like to thank again the Legislative Working Group. Your assistance, your efforts to look at the consumer's perspective is very helpful. That information translates well when we go and talk to our regulators. We don't have lobbying money to spend, but what we can share is the impact to voters, and I should say to ratepayers, which are then the legislators' voters. So again, thank you, and let's buckle up for next year. And any questions?
Are there any questions from members of the board? Hearing none, thank you, Ms. Lehman.
Thank you.
The next item we have is the items by secretary.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. We have planned for next month. We have the presentation that Brian mentioned on rates and rules. And so he'll give you the more thorough overview with slides as well that walks through many of the questions that you have. We're working on a biomethane management agreement. So we have biomethane that we're contracted for, and we're looking to have a consulting firm help us with the management of that and maybe recouping some of our costs associated with biomethane as well. And then another one we're working on is an underground electric inspection. So there's statewide requirements for when we have to do certain types of inspections. And so this is within cycle. And so it gives us the ability to look at our entire system over a number of months. And so this would be to award a firm to do that inspection. A couple other items. One is we have a student mentoring program that we just started up just this week. We've historically done students where high school students would come here. We tell them about the utility. We give them tours of our facilities. And then we do things where they learn about job skills, interview skills, things of that nature. Of course, this year is very different. And because of all the various protocols, we're doing it virtually. So we had 13 students in a very similar format to this, and they were still engaging with us from various high schools, including Anaheim, Magnolia, Loera, and Catella. So happy to host them, and we'll have a couple more sessions with them this year. Last thing I wanted to show, Peggy, if you could show the slide presentation, is I've mentioned to the board before that we've had a series of retirements associated with an early retirement program that the city has offered. So overall, there's roughly about 28 or so who have participated in the program. Graham Bowen was one of those, and so he's already departed. So we have a number of other ones I just wanted to share with you, starting with the most years of service. And so this is Truck Lee. He works in our water division in the engineering group, and he had, my goodness, 30 years. Incredible service. We wish him well. Dave Billings, long time meter reader, tremendous experience. He knows this city backwards and forwards. We're going to miss him with 37 years. Hector Garcia, he's been in front of the board in the past. He is the troubleshooter supervisor. And so his group is the one, he's our first responder. Whenever there's a power outage, it's the troubleshooters go out and try to figure out what the situation is, how to make it safe, whether or not a crew needs to be called in to make permanent repairs, or if there's something that he can clear himself. So he and his group of troubleshooters are so instrumental. They're absolutely important to our operation. So we're going to miss Hector a great deal with his 32 years of experience. Ricardo, he is also another long tenured meter reader. So we're going to miss him and his many years of experience with meter reading. Xavier Jacobo is a utility inspector on the water side, and love the photo. So he actually came to us from another utility, so he doesn't have a tremendous amount of years here in Anaheim, but we will miss him. He worked on a lot of major capital projects. And then Yi Lam, just a few years with us, but he's a senior electrical engineer working on protection systems. So we say thank you to all of these individuals. And then next month, I'll have the next batch of retirees to show the board.
Last question. What is the early retirement package?
Yes, so the city offered one of two separate packages. One would be if you retire and you get 2 additional years of the city's portion of the medical, and then a $15,000 cash payout. The second one is you get 1 year of the city's portion of the medical, but then a $25,000 cash payout. So you get to pick whichever one suits your purposes. And then once you make your selection, they had a certain amount of time to make a decision. And these folks are leaving between November and towards the end of this year.
I think the retirement system for the city is part of CalPERS.
That's correct.
Because I'm a state employee, also I go to CalPERS.
Yes.
Before they used to have a program that called it handshake retirement. Also, they give people like a couple of years as services, and then they let them to retire early.
Right.
But it could be different.
Right.
The formula could be different.
So
Thank you.
Right. And that's all I have in terms of my updates.
Dooku, this is John.
Yes, sir.
This is a significant loss of talent that we have in our organization. And I would be interested, and I think the board would be too, what your plans are to fill and backfill this very valuable resource that we're losing.
Yes, so we are working on those plans right now. In the interim, there's going to be a lot of people stepping into people's shoes. So for example, with Hector's situation, we already did a recruitment, and there is an internal candidate who received the promotion, a gentleman named Pete Rodriguez, who's been here in the city. And so he is now our new our troubleshooter supervisor. So certain positions that are highly critical, we have plans to recruit primarily internally, because we do still exist with the hiring freeze right now in the city. And then beyond that, I am planning on reorganizing within the utility, but those plans aren't formalized yet because we're still going through these retirements. Some folks are still here. Even the folks that I showed you on the presentation, they're still here for a period of time. And so we want to make sure all of that goes past before we introduce the reorganization. So in due time, Mr. Seymour, I will share that very happily with the board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Seymour. Any other questions? Is there any questions? No? We'll move on to the next item, which is items by board members. And I'll start with member Showalter.
Oh, I get to go first. Nice. Well, I just want to say that I am nominated by Denise Barnes in District 1. And since she lost her city council bid, looks like my end of time on the board is going to be December 31st, 2020. So unless my new city councilman.
May I interrupt, Member Showalter? I think we can get some clarification right now on that. That may not be the case, but I'll let Ms. Scott clarify for us.
Hello.
okay.
Hopefully you can hear me. You
Yeah.
remain on the PUB board until the city council member has nominated a new candidate and that candidate has been sworn onto the PUB. So you may remain in place for perhaps a month or so until a new PUB member is appointed from District 1.
Okay. And when will the new council members have to submit their nominee for the board?
They are not sworn in until December 8th. I do not know, but we will find out for you if there is a timetable or if they're going to give the new the new council members a little bit of latitude to be in their position for a little bit before an appointment is made.
And they would have to agendize that item, so we'll see it on the agenda likely in January is what I'm anticipating, potentially February, so it could be a couple months, as Allison mentioned.
Okay. And Dooku, do you ever have any contact with the council members as far as communication on recommended nominees, or does that not happen?
It depends on the council person. If they have some type of an inquiry on, they want to bounce an idea, I'm certainly more than happy to hear them, but it's not in all cases. It really just kind of depends on the council person. For the newer council members, I have not met Mr. Diaz in District 1 and Mr. Avelino Valencia. I've had one meeting with him in terms of a budget meeting. So certainly, if there's any questions or things that people bring up, I'm happy to answer them, but I don't particularly go forward and start soliciting board members, as you can imagine.
Right. Okay.
Thank you. Member Abdul Rahman? Any items?
No, I know.
Did Member Bala ever attend? He's not with us, okay. Member Gaona?
Just wanted to say happy holidays to everyone and be safe out there.
Thank you.
That's all.
Vice Chair Seymour?
Yes, I just wanted to thank you for sending that very clever and creative mask in my meeting materials. It is a clean energy mask, in case any of you haven't seen it, and I thought the design was superb. And to make that point, my wife said, when she looked at it, says, "I want one." So it was very good, and I appreciated it, and thank you very much.
Thank you, and I think we
Then we
can
might
find
be able to
a
arrange that.
spare. Let's see if we can find another one for Mrs. Seymour. And these are the students who submitted their artwork, and they did a really nice job. And we're very happy to have students engage with us in many different ways, and this is just one of those.
Mrs. Seymour will appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Vice Chair Seymour. And other than wishing those that will be retiring that accepted the optional earlier retirement plan, we want to wish them the best and thank them for their service, even those that were with a short time. This is a hustling and bustling place, so I'm sure they were able to invest a lot of their talent, their time, their resources, their sweat, and all of the other things that come with work here. And so I want to recognize them and thank them for the work and the service that they did for the public utility.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I have nothing else to report, so at this time, I will entertain a motion for adjournment until the next meeting.
Make that motion.
Motion made by Vice Chair Seymour. Can I get a second? Second.
I second it.
I've got a couple people seconding, so. Great. With that, we'll have a
Second with the AD.
second with, we'll have with Member Abdul Rahman, and we can have a roll call vote.
Okay, this is a roll call vote for item number 12. Vice Chair Seymour,
Aye.
Board Member Abdul Rahman,
Aye.
Board Member Guyona,
Aye.
Board Member Showalter.
Aye.
Chair Madrono,
Aye.
The vote is 5 ayes, 0 nays, 2 absent, not present. Motion carries, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.